There are so many things that go into the construction of a new home. Hundreds of steps, thousands of items. At Arbor Custom Homes, we do these things more than any other local builder, which would explain why we do this more than anyone else as well. Arbor Custom Homes. We build neighborhoods, one beautiful home at a time. Arbor Custom Homes. We have a home waiting for you.
To layoffs on the production line. Silver screen shut down. Bankruptcies and downsizing cast a shadow over movie theater chains. And a transplant operation that astonished the world ends in failure.
This is the CBS Evening News with Russ Mitchell.
And good evening. Former President Clinton tonight is taking steps to end what critics are calling his last White House scandal. After being blasted by friends and foes, Mr. Clinton and his wife, Senator Hillary Clinton, have agreed to pay thousands of dollars for gifts they received from supporters. Mark Nola reports on the controversy and the attempt by the former First Family to move on.
Trying to dig out from an avalanche of criticism, the Clintons now say they'll pay for some $86,000 in gifts they accepted their final year in the White House. Most of the gifts in question can be used to furnish their homes in Chappaqua and Washington and include furniture, china, silverware, and rugs, even a chandelier. But it was the gift from this woman, Denise Rich, that raised eyebrows most. She's a friend of the Clintons and a major Democratic contributor who gave them 2 chairs and coffee tables valued at $7,300. But she is also the former wife of Mark Rich, the fugitive tycoon who received a highly controversial pardon from Mr. Clinton on his last morning in office.
On the merits, I don't think it was a wrong decision. I regret all the political flap, and I regret that Denise Rich, who's a perfectly nice woman and never did anything inappropriate, and had been supporting us for years in ways that had nothing to do with this, that she'd been caught into this. But
by announcing that he'll reimburse the gift givers, the former president hopes to shield his wife, the junior senator from New York, from further ethical questions about the propriety of the gifts.
What I'm most amazed about is that they're doing it at all. I mean, I have a feeling if Hillary was not a senator, they would not be doing this at all.
On another money matter, Mr. Clinton says he won't ask taxpayers to bear the full cost of his $650,000 a year Manhattan office space. His foundation will split the cost, more or less, with the government.
Here we go. I mean, now we're going to get into who's funding the foundation, who are the foundation donors, where did the money come from, do those people also give to Hillary's campaigns, are they the same people?
Under the law, Mr. Clinton is not obligated to pay a penny for the gifts he received so long as he discloses them. But a top aide to the former president says Mr. Clinton would rather pay the money in the hope it gets the press out of his driveway. Mark Noller, CBS News, the White House.
The nation's auto dealers, faced with declining sales and huge inventories, are meeting in Las Vegas this weekend. With the brisk economy of the past few years, the annual gathering of the National Automobile Dealers Association had been a showcase for automakers. But this year, bad news from Detroit and beyond is putting the brakes on the fun, as Randall Pinkston reports.
The nation's car dealerships are filled with inventory, but these days there's very little traffic.
I sort of take things in stride that all car companies go through cycles like this.
The sales staff at this New Jersey showroom is ready to make a deal, but few are shopping.
How much longer do you anticipate the need for discounts to move cars?
I anticipate that Chrysler is, as well as other car companies, are going to be running discounts throughout the year.
But a sweet deal for buyers is bitter medicine for the auto industry. The nation's economic slowdown is forcing car makers to put the brakes on production, and that's taking a toll throughout the business, from plant workers to car dealers to parts suppliers.
We think that auto production is going to be down about 20% in the first quarter from last year.
Compared to a year ago, GM sales are off 5%, Fords are down 11%, and Chrysler, now owned by Daimler, dropped a stunning 16%. Facing the biggest problem, Chrysler is taking the most drastic steps for recovery, cutting 26,000 jobs over the next 3 years, shutting down 6 plants, scaling back production in others, and slashing millions in subsidies to dealers.
This is the turning point, and from here the company will improve, go upwards, and become successful and profitable again.
GM and Ford are also taking painful steps to get back on track. GM is phasing out the century-old Oldsmobile and cutting nearly 14,000 jobs. Ford is trying to cut $1 billion in costs. And as a result of all the cutbacks, parts manufacturers could see a 50 to 80% reduction in earnings from last year. While the industry is in for a bumpy ride in the months ahead, there is hope that recent interest rate cuts and new car models will help drive sales back up by next year. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, New York.
Two more giants of the airline industry reportedly are considering a merger. The Washington Post says Continental is talking about acquiring much larger Delta. That's the nation's third biggest carrier. The combined airline would control more than a quarter of the U.S. market. Coming to a theater near you, perhaps an out-of-business sign. This week, the Lowe's Cineplex Corporation announced it plans to close more than 100 theaters to avoid bankruptcy. And it's not alone. As Lee Cowan reports, some theater employees are beginning to feel like castaways.
And then she discovers that he's having an affair.
It's a plot that would confuse even the best screenwriter. Long lines, booming concessions, high-tech sound systems, all making the theater industry look as invincible as Indiana Jones. But behind the curtain, some economists say, the theater business looks more like the Titanic.
Ultimately, everything that drives them is traffic, and the traffic is starting to deteriorate because we're in a soft economy.
Last year, 4 of the 10 largest theater chains filed for bankruptcy. The largest, Regal Cinemas, is teetering on the brink, while 2 others, AMC and Lowe's Cineplex, announced major downsizing plans. The theory used to be, build it and they will come. During the 90s, the number of movie theater screens grew by nearly 40%. The problem, ticket sales only grew by half that much, leaving theater owners holding the keys to at least 10,000 more movie houses than they could ever hope to fill. But the studios aren't helping either. They're the ones that get most of the ticket revenue, and they decide which movies theaters will get. Action! Flops included.
They hold the theater owners really ransom. They say, if you want to have Castaway, if you want to have The Grinch, you've got to take these other films as well.
Which puts even more pressure on theaters to make money somewhere else. General Cinema, which filed for bankruptcy 3 months ago, has scored big with its premium cinema. A theater with a full bar and restaurant on the outside and free popcorn and drinks on the inside.
There's no lines, nice atmosphere, have a glass of wine. It's pretty good.
Bankruptcy protection has given theaters like this the chance to regroup and beg off long-term leases that forced them to keep older theaters up and running, even while the new megaplexes were stealing the show.
To include a theater like this as part of one of those large complexes gives us something else that our competitors are not offering, and hopefully is going to pull out people who might otherwise have chosen to do something else.
But in the end, it's not good food, but good movies that bring in a crowd. If the trend continues, Hollywood could begin looking for its next disaster movie right in its own backyard. Lee Cowan, CBS News, Boston.
Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, accused terrorists going on trial for the bombing of 2 U.S. embassies in Africa. Also, the inside story of the battle over regulating tobacco and a medical miracle's unhappy end.
Starkist needs to do what's never been done in the history of tuna. Something fresher tasting. Really easy. Fresher. Easier.
I've got it! Fresher tasting Starkist tuna in a new easy-to-use pouch.
Introducing the new Starkist Flavor Fresh Pouch. It's better because it's more convenient. Just tear and use. No draining, no hassle. And it's vacuum sealed so it tastes better. Fresher. The new Starkist Flavor Fresh Pouch.
Our best ever.
Are you ready to ask your doctor about Viagra?
I'm ready. Ready as anybody can be.
Get ready. Ask your doctor if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
Well, I'm ready for you. I hope you're ready for me.
I want a really cool computer.
Call 1-800-GATEWAY.
I want speed.
It's 933 megahertz, fast enough.
I want a humongous monitor.
Everything.
Everything.
And your budget?
$1,000.
Michael, a Gateway Essential PC with an Intel Pentium 3 processor, 17-inch monitor, free DVD or a printer is just $999.
1,000.
Under.
At Gateway, we make it easy.
Are you picking up Stephanie?
Sure. I'll go get her.
Why are you here?
Shut up. Hey, ladies.
The 2001 Big Montero. Now with a low APR, it can save you thousands.
President Bush claimed today in his weekly radio address that his $1.6 trillion tax cut will stimulate the economy and create jobs. The president sends the tax cut package to Congress next week. Senate Democratic leader Tom Daschle called for a smaller cut that is, quote, affordable and responsible. Mr. Bush's defense secretary, Donald Rumsfeld, was pushing another agenda, the National Missile Defense System. Rumsfeld told skeptical European security chiefs that the U.S. would not act alone in building the controversial system. He said it's a threat to no one except aggressors. Opening statements begin in federal court Monday in the trial of 4 men charged in the bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. The 1998 bombings killed 224 people, including 12 Americans. Jim Stewart tells us prosecutors are trying to send a clear message to Osama bin Laden.
It's taken the Justice Department and FBI over 2 years to piece together their case against the men suspected of bombing 2 U.S. embassies in East Africa. Now prosecutors have to convince a jury that they have the right pieces. Experts say the trial that begins Monday is a critical step in the U.S. war against terrorism.
It sends that message home time and time again that, look, yeah, maybe you did conduct this bombing, but we got you guys, we're coming after you.
The you in this case is this man, Osama bin Laden.
And this is a picture right here of Osama bin Laden by himself.
The terrorist millionaire accused of masterminding the bombings. He's been indicted for the attack but remains in hiding in Afghanistan, protected by the ruling Islamic chieftains. The government intends to present a case that portrays bin Laden as something like a godfather figure in charge of the terrorist group known as Al-Qaeda, or the Base. His chief lieutenants organized the embassy attacks, prosecutors will say, and lower-ranking soldiers carried them out.
It's almost like an organized crime case where you have the family and various leadership modules, and it's that kind of case. It's very conspiratorial, very covert.
And literally global in its complexity. In addition to the 4 on trial Monday, 1 remains jailed in New York, 3 others are fighting extradition from England, while 13, including bin Laden, remain on the loose, hiding in Afghanistan, Africa, and parts unknown. The trial is important for another reason as well. It could set a precedent for how terrorist suspects are interrogated in the future. Much of the evidence against some of these defendants will be their own words, statements they made before they had a lawyer and before they were brought to the United States. They now say that's not fair and those statements should be thrown out. So far, a judge has disagreed the statements will be allowed as evidence. Jim Stewart, CBS News at the FBI.
There is more to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, including India's saddest job, adding up the losses from last month's earthquake.
Interest in the Yellow Pages? Falling? Now there's something better. Switchboard.com, a free directory powered by the internet. It's business listings, it's people search, it's maps and directions, locally and nationally. So before you pick up a Yellow Pages, drop in on us instead. Switchboard.com. Think outside the book.
Just how powerful are new Whisk laundry tablets? Introducing Whisk Dual Action Tablets, a new form of detergent so infused with stain-fighting enzymes, it's as if dirt never happened at all. Whisk Dual Action Tablets.
Try it both ways.
Most dancers are afraid of losing a step. After I had my stroke, I was afraid I'd never dance again. Now I take Bear aspirin every day, like my doctor said, to help prevent another stroke.
Aspirin is not appropriate for everyone, so be sure to talk to your doctor before you begin an aspirin regimen.
And when my body is sore, I take extra strength Bear. It's that strong. It's great to be back.
Bear. Take it for pain, take it for life.
Indoors or outdoors, you should see your best.
Right now at LensCrafters, complete pairs of prescription glasses or sunglasses are only $99 each. Why not get both? The $99 indoor-outdoor sale. Hurry, offer ends soon.
What's for lunch?
Chicken and stars.
Condensed soup? We're not feeding the kids anymore. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso chicken noodle has all white meat chicken and bigger vegetables. See the difference?
Much better.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso.
Tiger Woods battles the beauty and the beast that is Pebble Beach as he shoots for back-to-back titles tomorrow on CBS.
U.S. aid arrived today in western India, where last week's earthquake left an estimated 30,000 dead. Air Force planes brought tents, blankets, water tankers, and forklifts for clearing rubble. Richard Roth tells us officials are blaming the huge death toll on shoddy construction.
A young man named Romesh compiles an inventory of sadness at a school destroyed by the earthquake. What is the list for?
The list is the wreckage of scooters, moped.
The wreckage of the school.
Chairs, computers.
But chairs and computers were the least of the loss. 36 children and 2 of their teachers died here when the Sacred Flower School collapsed. This was a brand new neighborhood pride. The school was just 10 months old. And what had seemed so impressive was that it went up so quickly. It took just 3 months to build it. A government study here published just 2 years ago made the point in what turned out to be a tragic prediction. Disasters don't kill people, it said. Buildings kill people. And the number of unsafe buildings in India, it warned, is increasing daily. In Bhuj, officials say every multi-story building that went up in the past 5 years came down in the earthquake. Construction know-how and building codes already in place here could have saved lives, experts say, but in this region's rush to build, safety was often ignored.
Comes a major development, a rush for buildings, a need for very fast economic development. All these habits are lost or forgotten. You end up with buildings that are not really thought out well. They have weaknesses. And of course, when an earthquake comes, it always seeks these weaknesses and causes the damage.
Police are examining building sites. They say they've seized the plans for scores of quake-damaged buildings and that the heads of at least 9 big construction firms could face homicide charges. Along with everything else, the earthquake shattered confidence, and some homeowners now are in a rush to make sure that what's left is safe. Richard Roth, CBS News, Ahmedabad, India.
A U.S. Marine Corps jet crashed this afternoon at the Marine Air Station at Cherry Point, North Carolina. A Marine Corps spokesman says the plane went down trying to land on one of the base's runways. There were no survivors.
Let me take over. The 2001 Mitsubishi Galant, now available with 1.9% APR for 5 whole years.
You know, it's really very simple.
I hate this cold, dry weather. Makes my scalp itch worse.
That's scalp stress itch.
When I blow dry, my scalp itch gets intense.
That's scalp stress itch.
Days like this, what an itch.
That's scalp stress itch. And this is what stops it. Scalpicin. Clean, unscented, medicated to stop scalp stress itch.
Fast.
Scalpicin stops scalp stress itch.
Women are throwing away an amazing product and their skin looks better for it. Olay Daily Facials Cleansing Cloths. You get superior cleansing and improved skin condition. Olay Daily Facials, proven to cleanse and exfoliate like a facial.
I've taken care of this garden from the very first seedling. We need each other.
But when I got arthritis, I thought my gardening days were over. Then my doctor encouraged me to keep at it, because staying active helps keep joints from getting stiff. And to make it easier, he recommends Advil. It's the #1 recommended medicine of its kind for arthritis pain, and it's gentle on my stomach. My doctor's right. Advil and gardening work beautifully.
Advil, stronger than pain.
What's for lunch?
Chicken and stars.
Condensed soup? We're not feeding the kids anymore. There's a better tasting soup. Progresso chicken noodle has all white meat chicken and bigger vegetables. See the difference?
Much better.
It's time to go to the better taste of Progresso.
Should religious charities receive money from the government? We'll talk to Chuck Colson, Barry Lynn, and Stephen Goldsmith on Face the Nation Sunday.
In a report issued late last month, a presidential commission recommended giving the Food and Drug Administration the power to regulate tobacco in the interest of public health. It's a cause that was long championed by former FDA Commissioner David Kessler, who writes about his time in office in a new book. The fight he waged against big tobacco is the focus of tonight's Weekend Perspective.
Look, we asked a simple question. We asked the question of whether nicotine is a drug. So it was a question of intent. What did the tobacco companies know? What did they intend about nicotine? And no one had ever gone to ask that question.
Good afternoon.
To try to control an industry they believed was endangering the nation's public health, David Kessler and a team of FDA investigators worked with informants with code names like Deep Cough, Veritas, and Research. The informants revealed that tobacco companies had deliberately manipulated nicotine levels in cigarettes to keep smokers coming back for more.
I underestimated the power of this industry. They have their tentacles in government, in media, the scientific and medical communities. They had a former FDA commissioner on a retainer. They got the Congress to hold hearings to investigate us.
For Kessler, what began as an investigation of big tobacco turned into a crusade, with industry leaders denying any responsibility for a product scientists say kills 400,000 a year.
Cigarette smoking is not addictive.
And Kessler vowing to change the way the tobacco industry did business.
What cigarette manufacturers say can be less important than what they do.
There were victories when attorneys general from all 50 states won a landmark settlement against tobacco companies to recover public health costs.
The $250 billion ruling against the industry back in 1998, how bad do you think it hurt big tobacco?
It was another step. Look, this is a chipping away.
But while that settlement also ended the Joe Camel billboard, companies still advertise in stores and in print. Programs to keep kids from taking up smoking have not been a big success, and Kessler lost his battle to get FDA control over tobacco as a drug.
The Supreme Court ruled by one vote that it could not regulate the tobacco industry. As someone who had all this information, who had spent all this time investigating the tobacco industry, how did you feel?
And one of the Supreme Court justices said, nicotine's no different than a horror movie. And I'm sitting there, what? Nicotine is a powerfully addictive drug. The justice said, well, you know, horror movies get your adrenaline pumping. They just didn't see the fact that nicotine is a drug.
Kessler does not see the fight against tobacco as partisan. In 1990, he was appointed by President George Bush, and later he enjoyed President Clinton's support.
I had sent him in the interim the results of our investigation, and he had read hundreds of pages, and he looked at me, and he said, I want to kill them.
Still, the tobacco industry is far from dead. 25% of Americans over the age of 18 smoke. But Kessler believes his investigation opened the door to endless lawsuits, which may eventually leave the industry unprofitable.
I am convinced, though, that in the end, we need to dismantle this industry. Prohibition will not work. I think we have to take the profits out of the sale of cigarettes. No one should be able to profit from the sale of an addictive drug.
Last month's report calling for FDA regulation of tobacco has been forwarded to President Bush. White House spokesman Ari Fleischer says it has not yet been reviewed. We'll be back.
I kept telling myself my overactive bladder was no big deal, but I was going so often. And suddenly, right in the middle of the show, come on, Kevin. Grandpa needs a bathroom. I really had to hurry. That did it. I asked my doctor about Detrol.
Prescription Detrol effectively treats overactive bladder, a medical condition. Detrol helps control bladder contractions that cause those sudden urges. If you have certain types of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems, do not take Detrol. The most common side effect is dry mouth. Some others may include dry eyes, headache, constipation, and indigestion. Overactive bladder is not normal at any age, so don't wait. Ask your doctor today about Detrol, the brand doctors prescribe most for overactive bladder.
Detrol made a difference for me.
Indoors or outdoors, you should see your best.
Right now at LensCrafters, complete pairs of prescription glasses or sunglasses are only $99 each. Why not get both? The $99 indoor-outdoor sale. Hurry, offer ends soon.
For dry skin itch, relief is here. 12-hour Lanacane with antibacterial plus vitamins. Works all day or all night.
It stops dry skin itch and kills germs.
Lanacane, itch relief that works all day or all night.
We are healthy, strong, energetic, even sexy. We drink Ensure when we can't eat nutritious foods like these. Ensure has vitamins and minerals like in vegetables, calcium like in milk, and protein like in fish. From Ensure High Calcium to Ensure High Protein to Ensure Plus, it's a source of complete balanced nutrition, so we can get the most out of life. Ensure, drink to your health. And now Ensure is richer, creamier, and tastes better than ever in delicious new tastes.
Why don't drug labels tell you more about dangerous side effects and risks? Eye on America investigated, and what we found will amaze you. Monday on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Finally this evening, a bit of medical history has been undone. The first man to receive a transplanted hand had it removed last night. Alan Pizzi reports his doctors blame the patient for the reversal.
Clint Hallam made history in 1998 when he became the first person to receive a transplanted hand. The limb from a brain-dead man was attached in a 13-hour operation, and within a few months there was every reason to believe the patient was doing everything right. But last night that hand was amputated at Hallam's request. The doctors said Hallam was suffering irreversible rejection because he had stopped taking anti-rejection drugs.
It failed because no medication was taken by the patient for the last 60 days or even more. Transplantation doesn't work without drugs.
Hallam justified his decision this way.
I'm convinced that there has come a stage with the number of rejections that I have experienced with my hand that, yes, my body has, or my mind has said, enough is enough.
At least 6 similar transplants, including one in the United States, have been done since Hallam's groundbreaking surgery, and all of them are reported to be doing well. Hallam turned out to be a controversial first choice. He had not revealed that he lost his hand in a prison accident in New Zealand while serving a sentence for fraud. There were months when the doctors did not hear from him.
Therefore, I do not call it a technical failure. I do not call it an immunological failure. I call it just lack of compliance.
Hallam tried to have his hand removed by surgeons in California, but they refused, apparently fearing bad publicity. So it was cut off by one of the doctors who sewed it on because he said it was in the best interest of the patient. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, London.
And that's the CBS Evening News. Tomorrow on Sunday morning, country singer Reba McEntire on Broadway. Then on Face the Nation, the debate over church and state. Thanks for joining us this Saturday evening. I'm Russ Mitchell, CBS News, New York. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, CBS.com on the internet and on our interactive partner, America Online at keyword CBS News.
Experience you can trust. CBS News.
Now get the latest headlines at the sound of your voice.
Weather.
Windy and cool. New voice browsing only from Quest Wireless. Free when you choose 1,200 minutes a month. So call